Time roulette. In today's class, we're going to discuss a theory of the game that relates to several different areas, from card design to gameplay to building a great format. And that theory is the creativity of deck building. Is creativity in deck building always a good thing? Does it have some pitfalls, and is there an issue with staples? Let's discuss. Once you have a particular deck idea in mind, there are 6 aspects to consider: staples, splashable engines, tech options, side deck, extra deck, and in-archetype combinations. Staples is a term to describe a card that just about every deck should use in a given format. By definition, they are generic, i.e. not specific to anyone's strategy. An example in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Ash Blossom, because it is usually live against any deck, and being a hand trap can disrupt your opponent faster than anything else. Splashable engines are a set of cards that can be thrown into another deck to help facilitate that deck's goal. An example is the Sky Striker engine. Tech options are cards that support some decks but are not integral to that deck, and are played at the duel's preference. For example, if you play a deck with a lot of light and dark monsters, throwing in a chaos monster like BLS would be considered a tech option. The side deck is a set of 15 cards that you can use to change up your deck between duels of the match. Side decks are typically used to swap in cards that are good against what your opponent is playing, but have also sometimes been used to change your own deck strategy. The extra deck is a set of 15 cards that consist of fusion, synchro, exceeds, and link monsters. They typically include boss monsters and combo pieces into boss monsters. And in-archetype combinations refer to the number of different ways you can build a deck off a single archetype. This may include variants within a strategy, or multiple strategies altogether. A prime example of this is the hero archetype, which includes Elemental, Destiny, Masked, Vision, Evil, Extra, and Neos. Now, sometimes these 6 areas dissect. For example, a popular tech card in a format may also be a good side deck option, an extra deck monster may be so good it's a staple, and so on. Given this intersectionality, we can organize our discussion into 2 points: how different should different decks be, and how different should same decks be. With Konami having structured card design largely on archetypes, the basic premise is that different archetypes do different things. As such, 2 decks may vastly differ in what side deck, tech, and splashable options work for them, but they may still share some similarities too. We often find this among staples and extra deck cards. The former, again, are cards that any deck can and should use. For example, if Pot of Greed was not banned, every deck would use it, even if no one knows what it does. 2 distinct archetypes may even sport similar looking extra decks because while their strategies differ, their combo pieces and ideal end board look similar. So the question is, to what extent are staples and generic extra deck monsters good for the game, and at what point do similar looking builds and end boards start to take away from the game? When people refer to deck building creativity, intra-deck options are likely what they're talking about. In fact, there's an entire word invented to poke fun at a lack of creativity in deck building: net deck, which means to look up a deck list and make your deck look exactly like that. This disdain is based on wanting enough variety within an archetype such that deck building remains a skill, where duelists are encouraged to explore the entire pool of 12,000 cards in order to find what tech options or in-archetype combinations work best for their playstyle and best against the current metagame. This may seem like an idea everyone can get behind, but it does come at the expense of underdeveloped strategies and oversaturated archetypes. In terms of oversaturated archetypes, heroes take the cake here with over 200 cards in their archetype. While as mentioned above it includes separate branches, oversaturation tends to lead to either a lack of direction with the deck or a slew of completely useless cards. As for underdeveloped strategies, what I mean is that an archetype may have different ways to build it, but it doesn't matter if none of them are well supported. A prime example of this is Red Eyes, where you can run a fusion variant, burn variant, ritual variant, heck, even a metal zombie variant, but there's a reason why Red Eyes players still feel like they're missing a few pieces no matter which variant they play. But while fleshing out archetypes may seem like an idea everyone can get behind, it does present a few issues, namely oversaturated archetypes, linear strategies, and ideal builds. So to what extent should archetypes be supported, and at what point does that support take away from creativity in deck building? In summary, deck building is the first step to winning a duel and should thus remain as skillful a component as possible. We discussed the various areas of deck building: staples, splashables, tech, side deck, extra deck, and intra-archetype, and how these areas impact how similar or different decks look from one another. For homework, discuss your thoughts on deck building. What are ways that we can inject more creativity and skill into this all-important component of Duel Monsters? Class dismissed.